Hello everyone, welcome back to a new session on dates. Now, being very important and very vast in its scope, I'm taking few more case studies and solutions with respect to dates. Let me get into case 1 to illustrate the problem. Now, if you focus on the first column, the one highlighted in red, you'll notice the dates are mentioned but no slash, no dot, no divider, and because of which this date may not be read by the Excel for some techniques like filter. For example, if I choose this data using Control A, I go to filter. Now if I go inside this filter button, it doesn't talk about text filters. Now of course it should have talked about date filters, but how do I make sure that Excel reads it in the proper date format? Let me press escape. Let me clear the filter. Now a quick way to rectify this date is by using text to columns. Now text to column is something that I'll be discussing in detail later, but with respect to dates, the solution in text to column I'll discuss now. Now it is very clear from the data that the mistake is DMY. It is DMY with no hyphen or space or slash in between them. So let me choose that date, data tab, text to columns. Now do not worry about what is there inside delimited or fixed with as of now, because I'll be discussing both this in detail later. As of now, when you have to correct the date, your motive is to confess the mistake. What do you mean by confess the mistake? The mistake is the date should be in MDY format internally, but it is in DMY format. So that's my mistake. So let me go to delimited. Step 1 of 3, next. Now I do not even look inside step 2, except that everything should be turned off. Next. And the last important thing is step 3, go to the date section. Here is your confession box. Why confession box? Because your mistakes are listed, your potential mistakes are listed. All you need to do is choose the mistake. So DMY and finish. You see, it's working perfectly fine. Now if I apply filter, let's see what happens. Filter, and this time it talks about date filters, not text filters. And why is date filter important? Because date, you can choose so many criteria based on month, quarter, year, week, etc. before, after or between such dates. You can also choose year wise data. So this is the facility I wanted in filter, and that could have been only be possible if I have a correct set of date. Let's say if I go to case 2, slightly different problem. Here the month name is not mentioned, instead the month sequence number is mentioned. So 27 July 2008. Secondly, the dot, which is not a correct operator for date, is also there. Now how do I correct this? Before correcting this, let me show you that if I apply filter, it still has the same problem. So objective is to correct it. How? Since your mistake is again DMY, so let me choose the data, only the incorrect invalid dates, text to columns. Step 1 of 3 delimited, nothing else to do. Next, just to make sure that step 2 of 3 has everything turned off, and in the last step, wherein lies my confession box, and which asks me to choose the mistake which needs to be confessed. So this is how I remember. DMY, not something else. DMY, finish. Now this is a problem more prominent in India, where people in general follow the date, month, year in their documentation. So you may want to use this in Excel as well. So that's the confession number 2. Confession number 3. And sometimes US databases may have data like these: year first, then month sequence, and then date. The mistake here is YMD. So choose the data, go to text to column, delimited as we have seen earlier. Next, make sure everything else is turned off. Next, and go inside the confession box. The mistake is not DMY. So if I choose DMY, it may happen incorrectly, or in fact nothing happens. So let me go to text to column. Let me be very careful about the nature of the mistake, which in this case is YMD. Finish. As you can see, proper date, that's the final output for the comparison. So text to column, confession, and that is what I'm talking about. When we go inside step 3 of 3, your potential mistakes are mentioned. All you need to do is confess. So confession pays, huh? Alright, let me press escape. Let me see how this can be applied in real life in sheet 4. Okay, sheet 4. I have a basic data, dates given, amount dollars given. I simply want to apply a filter. Now, as we have seen earlier, unless the dates are in the right format, even if I activate filter, I will not be able to use it correctly. As you can see, some of them are appearing the right here, but some of them are not. Additionally, it is not date filters out here, it is text filters. So let me go back, deactivate the filter. Now the question rises, do I simply apply confession box on the entire dates? Think about it. Now doing that would corrupt your already correct data. As you can see very clearly, some are in the right format, some may be in incorrect format. So if I apply the entire confession box on this data, let's see what happens. Just to show you the pitfall, let me apply the text formula on one of these dates, the one marked in blue. Now let me just extract the day, which is double D twice in double quotation and closing the brackets. So as of now it is Tuesday. Let's say if I confess this date as a part of my entire data set. So I'm just using a sample data, the one in red. Data, text to column, next, making sure everything is turned off, next. And if I assume everything to be the same mistake, DMY, finish. Notice the 5 has changed position. The 5 which was earlier denoting May has now come into the position of date, and the one that was in the months date's position has now turned into months. So earlier it was some date which is denoting Tuesday, now it is Saturday. So first things first, if something is already correct, I cannot confess that. Now you may tell me, given that it is a mix of so much of data, how do I segregate between the correct and incorrect date? I'll tell you. Let me press Ctrl Z. To be able to segregate that, I will be using the formula. Remember, is number to check whether any date is a number. If it is an invalid date, it may say false. Now if I copy paste it down, some will be true, some will be false as well. Now, yeah, I know what you're thinking. You are thinking, why not sort this data and apply confession box only on the dates which are presented as false, right? Okay. Now, yes, to a certain extent you are correct, but there's one pitfall, one more in fact. If you sort this data, let's say if you filter this data and you think, why not simply choose false? Agreed? Now these are the dates I must confess, but look carefully. If I choose the entire data block, the rows which are hidden, which are already correct data, will also be confessed upon. So I must ensure that I do not use filter. As I had mentioned, you must use sort. Sort is the right way. So let me go and choose the data and sort it. Sort based on the status, that's the third column. Okay. So false is on one side, true is on the other. I'm not going to apply filter. I will be choosing the dates which are presenting themselves as false. So stopping till that point. Now I'm lucky because all the mistakes are in the same nature, DMY. So let me go to data, text to columns, next, everything turned off, next, and my mistake which is DMY, finish. So sometimes you may also take the help of is number before you start to apply confession box. And now if I apply filter, let's see what we get. Yep. So in case you're just looking to get the 2008 data, plus if you want to further streamline it based on certain date criteria, so you're not getting text filter, you are getting date filter. That is the advantage of having the dates in the right format. So we have talked about few formulas, and most importantly the concept that every date equal to number, every valid date is equal to number. Secondly, you can use confession box, one of my favorite techniques in Excel. Confession box, where is it? Text to to columns. And of course, do not forget to use isNumber to validate your already existing data. So that was all about dates, and we'll be taking few case studies when we come to if statement pivot table. For now, this is all. Thank you.